This is no question about that. An emergency pod, Erik Ten Hag, gone. Daniel, how are you feeling about it?
I mean, emergency generally connotes some kind of ill feeling, doesn't it? But again, it's that, I said it, I think I'm probably off Tottenham, where you spend the Monday just like staring at your phone saying, give me an alert, baby. And you don't get one.
I did a lot of refreshing. I was awake last night. Obviously, my timing is a bit off, but I managed to sleep through 75 messages when I woke up.
And you must be, you just look at your phone and think, yes, what a feeling, what a day. I mean, I feel bad for celebrating this. He seems like an all right guy. I would have fired him last season, but before we actually start, I think on Ten Hag, I'm going to end this little bit with Ten Hag. I want to say that none of my United crew were at the game yesterday because we were all at a funeral. And I know Danny listens, and that's Danny, my friend from United, like who's part of my United family, I guess, is what he said to me yesterday, that his wife died. And yeah, so I guess I want to say, I don't know what I want to say other than, Danny, we're all thinking of you. And one of the greatest examples of black comedy I've ever heard was when Jonathan, his 13-year-old son, said, I never thought Ten Hag would outlast my mum.
Oh, man.
But here we are now, and Ten Hag has gone. And yeah, I mean, I think both of us were quite clear that we'd have binned him last season.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I guess that might have been the wrong decision, actually, given how it panned out. And it might be recency bias when I say this, but I don't think so. In my 40-odd years of doing this, that cup final will definitely be top 10.
Oh, it was great. It was great. Yeah.
Really Klopp's last season into the bargain.
Yeah.
I would say I would exchange for the last 8 games without thinking about it for a second. They should have fired him in the summer.
Yes. Now, all that is true. And we're doing a sharp left pivot from funerals to Erik Ten Hag's exit. All that is true. He on performances alone, he should have gone last season. The decision to keep him, I mean, felt emotional, although they did this massive review. So, I guess not.
I don't think I agree with that. I feel it was, in fact, I don't think it was emotional in that we really liked this guy or that was amazing. I think he would have been fired without it. But that, to me, is practical, that if you hadn't done something good, you'd just be absolutely dreadful. And that'd be it. And,
I guess
if Xabi Alonso had been leaving Leverkusen and decided that he'd come to United, then
they'd have
Ten Hag would not be the United. Sure. It's to do with, they spoke to people. I guess none of them impressed them that much, or they maybe Tuchel knew he was getting the England job then. Who knows? Hermes, what's his name? One of the German journalists reported a couple of weeks ago that we'd spoken to Hermes, who'd also said he wanted another year of Stuttgart, Champions League with Stuttgart. Yeah. So all of those things together, combined, got to keep Ten Hag in his job.
Yes, I think that's all right. As in, all correct. I guess we limp on with Ruud for the rest of the season, see how things go. I mean, the interesting thing now is that if he does really well, there'll be an Ollie-like clamour to keep him. If he does medium well, then there's space to move for one of the guys that you mentioned. There's also Ruben Amorim, who has a fairly low buyout clause in the summer as well, who is apparently on City's radar as well to replace Guardiola. So there are more options available in the summer.
If we got rid of Guardiola, part of me is like, I don't even care how good Amorim is. He can just go there. If we get Guardiola out of here.
Yeah, well, that's going to be for another emergency pod. Yeah,
so I don't think. I'm not certain that Ruud's getting the season here. I don't have any information on this, so but I think there's just as much chance he gets one game and therefore you interim.
Yeah, well, they talked to Xavi last week, of course, and that was fairly public, wasn't it? I mean, Omar Barada was spotted in Barcelona with Xavi, so. They didn't seem to keep that very secret. Interesting thing about Ineos is they leak nothing except for everyone else. I mean, it's football, right? So everyone else talks. So all the information has been coming from the outside of Ineos. Ten Hag, you're right. He deserved to go last summer. The league performance alone
justified firing him. The practicality meant he didn't go, but nothing has moved on, right? So he's got nothing, but he's never taken responsibility for his own personal failures. I mean, of course,
like having hair, for example.
Yeah, right. He's never taken
that crimes.
Lots of fashion crimes, but most important crime was on the pitch, and he just never learned. I mean, he made the same mistakes over and over again. The same problems with United's inability to build up and create chances has shown this season. Maybe it's not his fault that his team can't finish those chances. The inability to do pressing correctly. And the constant sort of donut shape in midfield, like the pattern never changed. And clearly, like everyone felt he was on borrowed time as a result. So he wasn't responding to United's poor results last season by changing it up at all. Right?
And we've allowed him now a whole summer's spending. Yeah. I mean, I guess we know he didn't want the guard take. That's for sure. Yeah,
it's fairly clear.
I guess maybe the next guy will. I mean, there's something about Garten. I'm not judging him yet because I need to see more. He wasn't someone I loved at Paris. There's something of the Morgan Schneiderlin about him where it's just you're beige and you can't blame midfielders to United and be beige. But that's sort of based on what I've seen at United so far. I guess I know he was a bit better last midweek, but we'll see. But even that feels kind of strange of Ten Hag because I totally get that you have a situation where the board want a player, the manager doesn't, but they're not giving him a player that he's ultimately refused. Ten Hag will have at some point said, okay, if that's what it is, that's what it is. So then when he does turn up, it's quite weird not to use him.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe they let him buy the list in the circumstances.
Yeah, it is like the summer's business feels like it had more of Ten Hag over it than perhaps we thought it might, given the new structure. And maybe that's because Ashworth and Barada turned up late. I mean, they weren't here until July, basically. The Xerxes signing, not sure whether that's a Ten Hag signing or a Wilcox signing.
But
Delict's definitely a Ten Hag signing. He wanted him and Mazraoui. I mean, I think under the circumstances, the new structure wouldn't have bought either of those guys. So
I think Mazraoui was cheap. Mazraoui was really, really cheap. Perhaps
for his quality. Yeah.
And perhaps because he expressed some views on Israel-Palestine that aren't allowed to be expressed in Germany these days. Yeah. So who knows if that was relevant or not? It feels like it might have been, but I don't know. I think the reason why I think Ineos were probably happy with those two, with that buy from Bayern, is they felt they were underpriced. Mm. And I think it might be fair to say that they were, even though De Ligt hasn't looked great so far. But it's not about getting bargains. It's about getting the best players that you can. Mm-hmm. And when you've already signed Yoro, I totally didn't get to left. Who doesn't fit with Martinez or Maguire, really. It seemed quite strange behaviour.
Mm. Yeah, I think that is an interesting point, macro point as well, given that Ten Hag's gone and he signed 21 players, a bunch of them are on loan and have left. So, but the squad is now very Ten Hag-ish, and it'll be interesting to see who they. I mean, obviously, if Ruud's here for the interim, fine, you just go on with the squad you've got. If they bring Xavi in, I mean, I don't know whether you saw Barcelona's Xavi. They still played like Guardiola light Barcelona football, which is not what Flick is doing at all. It was obviously a very difficult political situation for Xavi there. I mean, we shouldn't go too deep into that because we don't know whether that's going to happen, but it doesn't feel like this squad is a good fit with him. And then of the others, well...
I have a Xavi story.
Go on.
It's not a very good one, but I go on. So I tried to do a book with Xavi. We called it Xavi Hernandez on Football. I think that was the idea at the time. As someone who, in some ways, was sort of the on-pitch father of the football style that almost everyone plays now.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be interesting to do. So I meet with Xavi's people. They like the idea. They think the Xavi will be up for it. And then, so I think, okay, there's a pretty good chance this might happen. And let's find out what the numbers might be on the book that we could do. And I'm thinking, hang on, you play for Barcelona, and now you're in Qatar. If you get the best book deal in the history of the world, it will make absolutely no difference to your finances whatsoever. Therefore, but the money wasn't enough.
for him.
Yeah. Like, I mean, yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So I was kind of surprised by that. And I mean, maybe they're just being nice. Actually, his people thought I was a prick. That's also possible. We have 360-degree evaluation here.
Well, when he turns up at United, if he turns up at United, your agenda will be set already. Then
I guess, like, I saw some good things from Xavi's Barca team, I would say. Yeah. I'm not sure that I'd be asked enough about getting him to get him and not just stick with Ruud and see how that goes.
Exactly. I think that's right. It doesn't feel like he would be transformational for United. I mean, we could be wrong about that, but he didn't have the gravitas he had on the pitch, on the sidelines. That's for sure. And it's probably partly looking down on him, literally, because he's like 5 foot tall. So it will be interesting to see how United move forward post Ten Hag. I mean, this is, as I was saying, Ten Hag's squad has been shaped in his way. Like the tactical mess that he's left, how quickly can Ruud or whoever it is fix that problem now? Because they're going to have to, right? I mean, in some ways, it can't be worse. The underlying data is much worse than the actual results. Believe it or not, and it has been for 18 months.
Apart from chance creation, I think, yes. Are they on top of the league for that?
They're definitely top of the league for big chances missed.
For unconverted chances, yeah, maybe it's that. But whoever it is, Ruud or Xavi, is not going to be recruiting or engaged to fix Ten Hag's mess. They're going to be. It's not possible for it to be worse with these players. It isn't. Like, we're 14th in the league.
Yeah,
we did score a goal yesterday. So there's 8 goals now in 8 games. Something I can't take. So. It's not possible for it to be worse for these players. And I think the idea, if they were to bring Xavi in, I can't believe that they would appoint him permanently. They might appoint him till the end of the season and then see. I sort of want to avoid what happened with Ole happening again, though.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting, isn't it? Well, look, we'll see. It's going to be Ruud for Leicester, and all he needs to do is play round pegs in round holes. That's all he needs to do. Just the basics. Like, Ten Hag does not appear to have been able to do that ever. It just constantly, like, just an example from the game of the weekend against West Ham. Marcus Rashford deep and wide again. Why? On the right, deep and wide on the right again. Completely pointless. And he's just kept doing that. Like, make the best out of the players you've got. It doesn't need to be more complex than that. Go a little bit back to basics, which of course is what apparently Ten Hag's coaching staff last season, all changed now, were urging him to do for the last 4 games of the season. They just went back to basics a little bit. And that's all Ruud has to do, really, now that Ten Hag is officially out. It is kind of interesting. This is the thing that broke the Ineos team, isn't it? Like a fairly unlucky loss against West Ham, when almost any other game this season would have been enough to go, yeah, all right, it's time. And it doesn't appear that the players down tools at any moment. Like, I wouldn't say I thought they were giving up, and the whiff of. I mean,
we had a couple of games. We had a couple of games where they said that they weren't trying hard enough. But yeah, I agree.
Ericsson said that.
It wasn't like it has been. We know what it looks like against. Where they got Moyes fired, basically.
Yeah.
If they put in little enough effort, so the results got bad enough and performance got bad enough to give the board no choice. Felt like they got Mourinho fired as well, but Mourinho deserved it. And I think with Ten Hag, it's not that. I think they're probably just mystified in that the difference between what they do and what he sort of says he wants them to do is so distinct.
Yeah.
That I dare say they've had enough. But I think in terms of the timing of the sacking, it's more about, I think, how much you consider the situation to be irretrievable. And if you're a serious football club, what you have to be seen to be doing. And it feels like that meeting that they had in the last international break wasn't just, no, we're not firing him. It was, we're not firing him now. And when we do, we're going to try and have some kind of plan.
Yeah.
So they started the succession planning then. So it may just be that.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out. But it may just be
the reason they didn't fire him. They should have. I mean, after Tottenham, for me, like that performance was just a total. You can't come back from that.
Yeah. Well, in fact, what he was saying at the weekend about, I've forgotten that it was all about the red card. I mean, I'd have fired him just for saying that. Like,
I'd fired him a half time of that game.
I mean, it was like legitimately the worst half of football I've seen in the last 15 years. That was so bad from United. And the fact we were 1-0 down just masked a load of problems. And
it came off the back of that fuck up against Twente as well. And that was the first half that they could deliver.
And then the weird cry for help against Porto where he plays a right back at number 10. Just strange. I mean, I guess if you're just talking individual results, you could have fired him after Liverpool. I mean, could have gone, can't accept that. Just unacceptable. But that was what? A year ago now? No.
I mean, he'd probably been able to feel quite hard done by if he survived a 7-0 for him to get fired for a mere 3-0, which or good chances created.
A 2-1 against West Ham where you lose to a last-minute penalty, which was one of the most ridiculous VAR calls that there has ever been, yeah? So it's true. There's almost any game over the past year or so that you could have picked out and gone, yeah, that's enough. We're done now. Like, if you're a serious football club, as you say, an elite football club, he's had more time at United than he would have had at any of the other, pick 20 of the top clubs in Europe. He's had more time at United and more patience than he would have had at any of them. So, yeah, there you go. And in reality, it's been bad for 18 months, hasn't it? I mean, if you look at the underlying data post the Carabao Cup, we have like our expected goals for and against were way, way worse than our 8th place finish last season. Somehow the players got him out of a hole. I mean, it could have been 14th. I think it was 15th. We were ranked 15th for the XG differential last season in the league. And so maybe we're playing to our actual quality now. I don't know.
We're just brilliant finishers last season.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that.
So, I mean, I think there is hope, right? In the quality. Yeah, Garnacho's been wasteful. All he needs to do is up his conversion percentage from the 18%. It's in Darwin Núñez range at the moment to about 30. And he's suddenly going to get 15 goals a season. Marcus Rashford, we know he can score over 30. Just get him closer to goal. It's not that hard. He will do it. He'll score plenty of goals. And Højlund, if Ruud can coach him to not spend 90% of his time fighting with whoever he's playing, right, or if they use his strengths, like which is the ball into the channels more, he's going to get us goals too because he is a composed finisher. So there is hope. You just do the basics, and you're going to get more out of this team.
And Zirkzee, I want to come back to. I think that Mazraoui and De Ligt obviously feel very much like Ten Hag signings, but Zirkzee, he was young third of the year in Serie A, wasn't he, last season?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
and second top goal scorer.
Yeah.
I think that you can say that I don't know that was necessarily a Ten Hag signing. 2 assists in the last week for him, incidentally.
I said this on the main pod yesterday. We should weight assists. I'm fully on that train. Much like penalties are too big a penalty for most things. Assists.
I agree. But
he touched the ball off, and then yesterday he missed a header.
I thought it was a nice little touch off for Eriksen.
Okay, yeah. We'll.
It did still require a good finish, but it wasn't Brian McLaren for Erik.
No,
Beckham.
Zirkzee, I've got some hope. His technical quality is very high. So it's just, can you get him into the right positions to finish off goals? He's got 1 in 13. Doesn't look very good. Obviously, a lot of those are off the bench. De Ligt, got some strengths, leadership, got some failures. Mazraoui, I like for 15 million. I think he's just fine. Fine.
But is he good enough? And I don't know. And the thing about De Ligt and the leadership, right, is your leadership doesn't matter if you're constantly dropping bollocks. No one will take you seriously.
True. Absolutely, yeah. So it's a mixed bag on Ten Hag's signings and which ones I like and don't like.
If it mixed, that feels generous, I would say. If you've got all the players you've signed, and we don't know, I'm not judging the ones he's just signed, but otherwise, which ones are successes?
Onana now looks like he's a keeper, right? He hasn't dropped a clanger for ages. He even commands the air at the moment. His footwork's great. So I'm not too unhappy with Onana. I think he's improved a lot, right? So maybe it took him like Martinez, great last season, great season before, sorry. Then he's not been good this season, but we know there's a player there, don't we? Mazraoui, all right. De Ligt, all right. Euro, Mount, absolute waste of space, just complete, unbelievable.
An all-time classic Mount, not just a Fergie Wilderness years belt.
Oh, just
an absolute stone-cold banger Mount.
55 million, 50 million overpriced. Well, I mean,
it's not even that. He's a good player.
He wasn't required, and he's been injured ever since we signed him.
That's true. So, but Ruud, to go back to the how he uses his squad, right? Just the basics. Get Bruno close to goal. He will create assists and score goals, right?
Which is what they did, basically.
Yeah, which is what Ole did. Just get him close to goal, right? Even if that means you have to play two defensive midfielders in central midfield in a pivot, like Ugarte plus Casemiro while Maine's out.
You can't really... while Maine's out, fine. But once Maine's back, you can't do that.
No, Maine has to come back in.
That is actually one of the biggest tasks for whoever the new guy is
how can they get that?
It's getting those two, those two into the same team.
Yeah. Well, they augment with one of the fullbacks, I think. And then get Rashford close to goal. Maybe it means Gunn actually goes to the right for now, which I don't think he's bad at all. I just don't understand.
I quite like him on the right.
Yeah, I think he's fine. Whereas Marcus is a third of the player, literally in terms of the data, a third of the player, right? So get Marcus close to goal and get those balls into the channels for Højlund. You've got a team there which is it might not be top three, but it's way, way better than 14th, and it will create. I know, it's just insane. So I just don't. I mean, maybe I'm talking myself into this, but I just don't think it's too. You don't have to overthink the task now. Ruud just has to do the basics with the players he's got. And he's going to get a series of decent enough results.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, obviously, when you appoint from within like this, someone who was there for the previous mess. How much of that are they culpable for? Why aren't they culpable for any of it?
Absolutely. And he might want to show immediately, as some interim managers do, that he's the man, and let's look out for any strange decisions. Not against Leicester, because it's okay to make
Carrick leaves Bruno out. The game in Villarreal and we win. So we don't get good until he brings Bruno on.
That's true. And so did Ragnick, of course. Put him on left wing and then dropped him. So I hope that's not the marker that Ruud lays down, because I think you just get him further forward, right? So it may or may not be a good decision to give Bruno that mega new contract. That may look like a millstone in a while, but for now, you get way more out of him by getting him closer to the forwards and not in this 8-8 that he's been all season. So the basics for Ruud, he's going to get some decent results, and that's all he has to do.
Yeah, I mean, because I think I agree with him. Midfield, you need a 6, an 8, and a 10, basically.
Yeah.
And it's where it needs to be. And you've got Ugarte. It has to be him. And then I guess you play Casemiro there and Bruno.
But now,
until Maine's fit again.
Yeah, exactly. Which could be 6 weeks away or something like that.
Is it that long?
I thought... He tweeted the other day saying something that suggested he wouldn't be out much longer.
Right. So is Mason Mount regularly. Poor old Mason Mount. If he was a horse, you'd put him down, wouldn't you? It would be the humane thing to do.
Mount in the treatment table.
Oh, dearie me. Okay.
So who's next?
Well, we got Leicester. And then
I was talking about the next manager, because I don't think it's going to be Ruud van Nistelrooy.
No, I suspect not. It's interesting that the Mail retweeted Sammy Mock, I forget his name, sorry, retweeted his piece he did about a month ago, which is like a hit piece on Ruud's time at PSV, where apparently fell out with lots of the players. Dutch manager falls out with Dutch players, and we've never heard that one before, ever. It's like one of the biggest cliches in football, isn't it? So no, I don't think it'll. I'd be surprised if it's Ruud, just because his pedigree's not there. I think you've got three that they must have looked at in the summer and they just weren't doable, right? You've got Ruben Amorim. Sporting plays back three, but they are doing well this season and in the Champions League. You've got Xabi Alonso. Obviously, he's got Real Madrid and and Liverpool connections. Liverpool, they're not going to fire Arne Slot. Looks like he's doing a good job, right? So he's not going to be going there. Real Madrid is the interesting one because, well, they decide that Carlo Ancelotti has just had 1 year too many. Getting hammered by Barcelona at the weekend will not have helped their mood, but we'll see at the end of the season. He's got to work out how to manage Mbappe. And so far he's done that by neutering Bellingham. So there may be a spot there. And then obviously Hoeneß at Stuttgart, he will leave in the summer. And they play pretty good football there. He's an interesting manager, young. He's younger than Ruud, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with all of these is, and it's United is a very different job to managing Stuttgart, even if you just
unbelievably so. Yeah,
just football. Before we even talk about like what kind of personality it might take to deal with the pressure or whatever.
Yeah,
Stuttgart is finding, and this is also really what Xabi Alonso's done, I guess, at a high level, is using players who weren't considered to be good and making them into something that is greater than some of their parts. And the manager of United is not that. It's about, I mean, it's a little bit of that, but it's also finding the best players and getting the best players to play with each other, turning them into the best players potentials become the best.
Sure.
Which is a different job. I think James from Muppeteers was saying that he'd be surprised if it wasn't one of Amorim, Frank, McKenna.
Right.
Those were the three.
Who they all spoke to in the summer as well, right? So, and McKenna was interesting. Maybe they just thought it was a bit too early, and obviously it looks like Ipswich are going to get relegated. So his,
I think it also has McKenna got the personality. It's not just too early for him. It's of those three, and I like Thomas Frank, but again, managing United, managing Brentford, very different jobs. Of those three, and I hate 3-4-3. I don't really see how it could not be Amorim if those are your three.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair call. At least there are options, but I think your point about any of them obviously building an elite club. Well, no, I mean, but we're not in that situation, which is like the problem. Like we're always looking for the next 3-year cycle to build to success. But they said themselves, right? Barada said that their 150th party the other day, I was Project 150. So he said that the internal town hall a month ago or so. We're looking at 2028, right? 150th anniversary. They want to win the league then. That feels like a really heavy lift from here, doesn't it?
So funny that, like booking in, arranging, like parents' evening appointments. Well, we're free then.
Yeah. Let's book the open top bus for 2028. Yeah, it's definitely on. So, the other thing, I guess, to think about with whoever the new guy is that they're trying to build this structure around him, so there's much less responsibility on the manager. It's just coaching, right? And I'm not saying that like there isn't a different breed at United because of the pressure and scrutiny, and you got a billion eyes on you, and the fact that the media will go after you straight away and all of that kind of stuff, right? So it's a different beast. But they are trying to take a lot of the responsibility away from the manager, and so maybe they feel they can appoint a younger, less experienced manager as a result. I'm not sure. It felt a little like that, but I'm just trying to read.
No. I don't mind that, but I still want my personality.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You need to be able to fill the boots, and Erik never did. Like it wasn't Moyes bad in terms of. Yeah, he came out fighting after the cup final, didn't he? But it still felt a bit like this isn't actually you, is it? You know?
It's not just the kind of the fighting spirit, getting it on with the media, as inspiring the players and creating an environment that everyone feels part of, wants to be with you, and it's exciting and like the rabble rousing. And obviously, the best recent example of that is Klopp.
Yeah.
Like Arsenal was so desperate they accepted that. Like they somehow let Arteta do it. But I would say, like in general, it's not something I could exactly see Arteta managing somewhere else.
Yeah,
like he doesn't have that kind of personality. But I'm looking for the next club. That's if I'm the manager.
Yeah,
and
for sure. Yeah.
And obviously, I know what that means. Like I want someone with tactical smarts and loads of charisma. But where you find that, obviously, is here's your to say.
Okay, well, we'll leave it there. Emergency pod. I haven't done one of these for a little while, and
see you years.
Oh my God. The cycle. Yeah, 2 in a little bit, isn't it? How many get? He had 120. What was it? 125, 126 games, something like that. It's a good run. I think it's enough to have made the call.
I agree.
There we go. All right. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this emergency. We'll be back on the dailies this week, and I'm not sure if we're doing a midweek after this. I guess we will. We'll find someone. Thanks very much.
For the last time, please.